The phone rang at 11:47 p.m., pulling me from a restless half-sleep. My wife had been at the pharmaceutical conference in Chicago for 3 days, and the house felt empty without her. I fumbled for my phone, squinting at the bright screen. Unknown number. Hello. Good evening. Is this Mr. Richardson? The voice was professional, measured, with an undercurrent of something I couldn't quite place. Yes, speaking. Mr. Richardson, this is David Torres, head of security at the Grand Meridian Hotel. I'm calling regarding your wife, Sarah Richardson, who's registered in room 1847. My heart lurched. Is she okay? Did something happen? Your wife is fine, sir. However, we have a security matter that requires clarification. He paused, and in that silence, my mind raced through a dozen scenarios. Our keycard logs show that room 1847 was accessed this evening at 9:32 p.m. by a second keycard, one issued under a different name. A male guest. Can you confirm whether you authorized additional access to your wife's room? The words hit me like a physical blow. I sat up, suddenly wide awake, my pulse hammering in my ears. What? No. I didn't authorize anything. Who was it? The card was issued to a Mr. James Hartley, room 2103. According to our records, he checked in 2 days ago. Our night manager issued your wife a second keycard yesterday afternoon at her request, which she stated was for a colleague who would be joining her for work purposes. My mouth went dry. Sarah had been distant lately, working late hours, taking calls in another room. I'd attributed it to stress from her new position at the research firm. But this... Mr. Richardson? Are you still there? Yes. I'm here. My voice sounded hollow, disconnected. What exactly are you telling me? Sir, I want to be clear, we're not making any accusations. However, given the late hour and our duty to our guests' security and, frankly, to their spouses, we felt obligated to contact you. Some guests use conferences as opportunities for extramarital encounters. We've seen it before. Our policy is to notify registered partners when irregular access patterns are detected. I stood up, pacing now, my free hand clenching and unclenching. Where is she now? Ms. Richardson returned to her room at 10:15 p.m. She's inside. The male guest, Mr. Hartley, left the room at 10:03 p.m. and returned to his own room. 13 minutes. They'd been alone in her room for over 30 minutes, and she'd stayed longer after he left. I need you to do something, I said, my voice steadier than I felt. Don't tell her about this call. Can you do that? A pause. That's unusual, sir, but yes. May I ask why? Because I'm coming there. Tonight. I need to see this for myself. After hanging up, I sat in the darkness of our bedroom, staring at the framed photo on Sarah's nightstand, us on our honeymoon in Maui, her head on my shoulder, both of us sun-drunk and happy. That was 6 years ago. Where had we lost our way? I grabbed my laptop and booked the next flight to Chicago, a 6:45 a.m. departure, the first available. Then I threw clothes into a bag, moving on autopilot, my mind a hurricane of emotions. Anger, betrayal, disbelief, and underneath it all, a desperate hope that there was some explanation, some reasonable answer that would make all of this make sense. But what explanation could there be? A male colleague in her hotel room at 9:30 at night? She'd never mentioned anyone named James Hartley. I scrolled through her recent texts on our shared family plan account. Nothing unusual, mostly messages about her presentations and dinner plans with conference attendees she'd named. Rebecca, Susan, David from the Boston office. No James. I tried to sleep but couldn't. At 4:30 a.m., I gave up, showered, and headed to the airport. The entire flight, I rehearsed what I'd say, how I'd confront her. Would she deny it? Break down? Confess everything? By the time I landed in Chicago at 9:15 a.m., I'd consumed enough coffee to fuel a small army and worked myself into a state of controlled fury. I took a cab straight to the Grand Meridian, a towering glass structure in the heart of downtown. The morning was grey and cold, matching my mood perfectly. The Grand Meridian's lobby was exactly what I'd expected. Polished marble floors, crystal chandeliers, and the hushed atmosphere of expensive discretion. Business travelers moved purposefully through the space, pulling wheeled suitcases, checking phones, living their normal lives while mine was potentially falling apart. I approached the front desk where a young woman with a practiced smile greeted me. "Welcome to the Grand Meridian. How may I help you?" "I need to speak with David Torres, your head of security. He called me last night." Her smile faltered slightly. "Of course. Let me page him for you. Your name, sir?" "Nathan Richardson." Recognition flickered in her eyes. Torres had probably briefed the staff. She picked up a phone, spoke quietly, then nodded to me. "He'll be right down. Please, have a seat." I was too wired to sit. I stood by the windows, watching taxis pull up, disgorge passengers, and disappear back into the Chicago traffic. 5 minutes later, a man in a dark suit approached, late 40s, graying at the temples, with the alert posture of someone trained to notice things. "Mr. Richardson? David Torres." His handshake was firm. "I appreciate you coming in person. Would you like to speak in my office?" "I want to go to her room." He hesitated. "Sir, I understand you're upset, but I'd advise." "Is she there now?" Torres pulled out a tablet, tapped a few times. "According to our logs, she left the room at 8:15 this morning. There's a conference session at 9 o'clock. "Then I want to see the room. I'm still on the reservation, aren't I?" "She used our joint credit card." Torres studied me for a moment, then nodded slowly. "Technically, yes. But Mr. Richardson, I've seen situations like this before. Sometimes it's better to have a conversation first, in a neutral space, rather than—" "I need to see it," I interrupted. "Please." The elevator ride to the 18th floor was silent except for the soft chime at each floor. Torres didn't push further, perhaps recognizing the futility. He led me down a carpeted hallway to room 1847 and used a master keycard to open the door. The room was neat. Sarah had always been organized. The bed was made, her suitcase open on the luggage rack, toiletries arranged precisely in the bathroom. Everything looked absolutely ordinary, which somehow made it worse. What had I expected? Rose petals? Champagne bottles? I moved through the space slowly, Torres watching from the doorway. On the desk were conference materials, Sarah's laptop, a legal pad covered in her neat handwriting about receptor proteins and trial phases. Normal work stuff. Then I noticed the coffee table. 2 glasses, both used. A wine bottle, 3/4 empty. My stomach tightened. "Mr. Richardson," Torres said carefully, "I should tell you, the male guest, Mr. Hartley, is here for the same conference. Same pharmaceutical industry." That's supposed to make me feel better. I picked up one of the glasses, as if it might offer answers. Co-workers don't usually share wine in hotel rooms at night. "No," Torres agreed. "They don't." I set the glass down and moved to the closet. Sarah's dresses hung in a neat row, including one I didn't recognize, a red cocktail dress with the tag still on it. She'd bought new clothes for this trip. For him. My phone buzzed. A text from Sarah. "Morning. Heading into the next session. Hope you're having a good day. Miss you." The casualness of it, the ease with which she lied, made something crack inside me. "When does the session end?" I asked Torres. The morning sessions typically break at noon for lunch. 3 hours. I thanked Torres and checked into my own room. He'd arranged one on a different floor with no questions asked. Then I sat, watching the clock, planning what I'd say. At 11:45, I positioned myself in the lobby near the conference hall exit. At 12:03, attendees began streaming out, name badges swinging from lanyards, conversations about clinical trials and FDA approvals filling the air. Then I saw her. Sarah looked beautiful, professional in a navy suit, her dark hair pulled back, laughing at something a colleague was saying. She looked happy, relaxed, completely at ease. Not like someone harboring a guilty secret. I stepped forward, directly into her path. "Sarah." She froze, her face cycling through shock, confusion, and something else I couldn't identify. "Nathan? What are you? How are you here? We need to talk." Her colleague, sensing the tension, mumbled an excuse and disappeared. Sarah's hand went to her throat, a nervous gesture I knew well. "Is everything okay? Did something happen? Is it your mom?" "Let's go somewhere private," I said, keeping my voice level despite the fury building inside me. "Your room, maybe." She paled. "Nathan, you're scaring me. What's going on?" "Room 1847, I continued. "Where you and James Hartley shared wine last night. Want to tell me about that?" The color drained from Sarah's face. For a moment, she looked like she might faint, and I instinctively reached out to steady her, then pulled my hand back. Around us, conference attendees flowed past, oblivious to the personal drama unfolding. "Not here," she whispered. "Please, not here." We rode the elevator in silence. Sarah stared at the floor, her hands clasped so tightly her knuckles were white. I studied her profile, the woman I'd loved for 8 years, the woman I'd trusted completely. Had I ever really known her? In her room, she turned to face me, and I was startled to see tears streaming down her face. "How did you find out?" "The hotel called me. Security protocol. They track keycard access." I kept my distance, afraid of what I might do or say if I got too close. "Want to explain why a man I've never heard of has a key to your room?" "It's not," she started, then stopped, wiping her eyes. "God, Nathan, it's not what you think." "Then tell me what it is, because from where I'm standing, it looks pretty damn clear." She moved to the desk, pulled out her laptop, and opened it with shaking hands. "James Hartley isn't. He's not who you think he is. And I couldn't tell you because I wasn't sure, and I didn't want you to worry, and then everything spiraled so fast." "You're not making sense. Just look at this." She turned the laptop toward me. On the screen was an email thread, dozens of messages. She scrolled to the top, to a message from 3 weeks ago. Subject: Urgent. Conference safety warning. From Jennifer Walsh, jwlash.pharma@email.com. The email was long, detailed, and chilling. It described a scam targeting women attending medical and pharmaceutical conferences. The setup was sophisticated. Attractive men, often registered as conference attendees, would befriend women, offer networking opportunities, suggest drinks or dinner. They'd drug the drinks, rob the rooms, and disappear. The email listed several incidents across different cities: Atlanta, Seattle, Denver. "There have been 6 confirmed cases in the last 4 months, Sarah said, her voice steadier now. "The police think it's an organized operation. They move from conference to conference, always a few victims per event, never enough to shut down a conference or cause major publicity." I looked up from the screen, my anger mixing with confusion. What does this have to do with James Hartley? The second day I was here, a man approached me at the coffee station. Friendly, professional, said he was with Davidson Pharmaceuticals. That's a real company. We talked about the morning sessions, exchanged business cards. He suggested we grab dinner to discuss a potential collaboration. My jaw tightened. "And you said yes?" "No," she said firmly. I thanked him and said I had plans. But then... She pulled up another email, this one from 2 days ago. "I got this. Subject: Conference safety warning, urgent update. The suspect may be at your Chicago conference. Matches description: white male, 35 to 40, brown hair, calls himself James or Michael, claims to work for Davidson or Merck. Uses charm and professional networking as approach. Do not engage. Contact security immediately." I felt the foundation of my assumptions beginning to crack. This man who approached you. I compared his business card to the warning descriptions. Everything matched: the companies, the name James, even the age range. I went to hotel security that afternoon. "Torres," I said. "Yes." He took it seriously. He said they'd had a similar incident at a conference here last month, but the woman didn't report it until after checkout, so they couldn't verify anything. He wanted to catch this guy in the act. Sarah pulled up another document, a security plan, time-stamped and signed by Torres. We set up a sting. I would act interested, agree to meet him in my room, but Torres would have security watching the entire time. They installed a camera in the hallway, monitored the keycard logs. When James, or whatever his real name is, entered the room, they'd have him on multiple security systems. I sank onto the edge of the bed, my mind reeling. So last night. He came to the room at 9:32, just like we planned. I was wired, literally. Torres gave me a listening device. We had a glass of wine, talked about business opportunities. He was smooth, Nathan. Really professional. He asked if I wanted another drink, went to pour it, and I saw him drop something into my glass. I could see his reflection in the window. Her voice cracked, and fresh tears came. That's when I signaled. I touched my earring twice. That was the code. Torres and 2 security officers came in immediately. James tried to run, pushed past me. They caught him in the stairwell. I stood, cross to her, my anger transforming into something else. Guilt, relief, fear for what could have happened. Why didn't you tell me any of this? I wanted to. But Torres said the fewer people who knew, the better. If word got out, the guy might disappear. And I thought, she met my eyes. I thought it would be over in one night. I'd help catch a predator, maybe save other women, and then come home and tell you everything. I didn't want you worrying while I was gone, imagining worst-case scenarios. Well, that worked out great, I said, but there was no heat in it anymore. How did you find out? Why did Torres call you? He said it was protocol, to notify spouses when irregular room access is detected. He didn't mention the sting. Sarah's face hardened. He wasn't supposed to call you. That wasn't part of the plan. Sarah grabbed her phone and dialed. Mr. Torres? This is Sarah Richardson. I need you in room 1847 immediately. She paused, listening. I don't care if you're busy. Now. She hung up and turned to me. Something's wrong. What do you mean? Torres explicitly told me he wouldn't notify anyone about what was happening until after the arrest was complete. He said operational security was paramount. No calls, no emails, nothing that could compromise the sting. A cold feeling crept up my spine. But he called me at midnight, hours after you said they arrested this guy. Exactly. Sarah was pacing now, her professional researcher brain clearly working through the problem. And why would he phrase it the way he did, making it sound like an affair? If they'd already caught James, why not just tell you what really happened? Before I could respond, there was a knock at the door. Sarah checked the peephole, then opened it to reveal Torres, but his expression was different now, less professionally concerned and more calculating. Ms. Richardson. Mr. Richardson. He stepped inside without being invited. I see you've had quite the reunion. Why did you call my husband? Sarah demanded. That wasn't part of our agreement. Torres closed the door behind him and leaned against it. Plans change. Situations evolve. Where's James Hartley? I asked. Sarah says you arrested him last night. There is no James Hartley, Torres said calmly. At least, not in the way you think. Sarah went very still. What are you talking about? Torres pulled out his tablet, the same one he'd shown me earlier. Here's what actually happened last night. A man did enter your room at 9:32 p.m. using a keycard. But that man was Officer Kevin Brooks from the Chicago PD, working with hotel security. He stayed for 33 minutes, long enough to establish a timeline. Then he left. You returned shortly after and went to bed. You're lying, Sarah said, but her voice wavered. Am I? Check your own laptop. Look at those email warnings you showed your husband. Hover over the sender's address. Sarah moved to her computer, clicked on the email from Jennifer Walsh. Her face went white. This is a fake domain. It looks like her company email, but the domain was registered 3 weeks ago, Torres finished. along with a convincing but entirely fabricated website for a fake pharmaceutical safety network. The emails, the warnings, the descriptions of attacks, all manufactured. I felt like the floor was tilting. Why would you do this? Because, Mr. Richardson, your wife has access to something very valuable. Research data from her company's clinical trials, information worth millions to the right buyers. But Sarah is ethical, careful, not someone who'd steal corporate secrets willingly. Sarah's hand went to her mouth. The Parkinson's trial data. That's what this is about. Your company is 3 months away from an FDA submission that will revolutionize treatment. Knowing the exact efficacy data now, before the public announcement, would allow certain investors to position themselves perfectly. But the data is locked down, accessible only to senior researchers like you, and only on secure company systems. I don't access that data from my personal laptop, Sarah said. It's not even possible. There are firewalls, encryption. Ah, but there's the clever part, Torres said, and he actually smiled. You don't access it from your laptop. But last night, when you thought you were helping catch a predator, when you were so focused on watching James Hartley drop something in your drink, you didn't notice what Officer Brooks was really doing. Sarah's eyes widened in horror. You accessed my laptop. While I was distracted. We needed your credentials, Torres confirmed. Your fingerprint for the biometric scanner, your facial recognition, your typed passwords when you nervously pulled up those emails to show Brooks the warnings. Every keystroke logged. Every security protocol now compromised. You son of a, I started forward, but Torres raised his hand. In it was a small device, something between a phone and a remote control. I wouldn't, he said. Right now, Hotel Security, the Real Security, thinks I'm investigating a potential theft. In about 30 minutes, they'll discover that someone accessed the hotel's financial systems from this room's IP address. They'll find stolen credit card data on Ms. Richardson's laptop, which I'll helpfully have planted there. She'll be arrested, and in the chaos of defending herself against felony charges, no one will notice the real theft, the pharmaceutical data, until it's far too late. Sarah's voice was barely a whisper. You're framing me. Insurance policy, Torres said. If either of you tries to report what really happened, you'll be immediately arrested. Your word against the hotel's head of security, against digital evidence, against everything. Even if you eventually clear your name, the damage to your career, your reputation, it would be catastrophic. What do you want? I asked. Right now? Nothing. I have what I came for. The data has already been uploaded to our buyers. I'm just here to ensure you understand the situation. Go home, Ms. Richardson. Finish your conference. Resume your normal life. And never, ever speak of this to anyone. He reached for the door handle, then paused. Oh, and the real irony? There actually have been attacks at conferences. The emails weren't entirely fabricated. We just weaponized the fear. Made you think you were the hero catching the bad guy, when really, you were the mark all along. The door closed behind him with a soft click. For 30 seconds, neither of us moved. Then Sarah lunged for her laptop, fingers flying across the keyboard. What are you doing? I asked. Checking the damage. If he accessed my company credentials last night, there should be login attempts, data transfers. She stopped, her face illuminated by the screen's glow. Oh God. Nathan, he wasn't lying. Someone accessed the trial database at 9:47 p.m. last night. They downloaded 83 gigabytes of data. Can you trace it? It shows as coming from my credentials, from an IP address in the hotel's business center. She looked up at me, devastated. This is going to destroy me. Even if I prove I didn't do it, they'll say I was negligent, that I compromised security. I'll lose my job. Maybe face criminal charges. Not if we prove Torres orchestrated it. How? He's right. It's our word against physical evidence. And if what he said is true about planting more evidence on my laptop, she stood abruptly. We need to leave. Now. Before whatever his planning happens. No, I said, an idea forming. We need to be smarter than that. Torres thinks we're scared, that we'll run or hide. He's counting on our panic. I pulled out my phone and opened the recording app. How long have we been talking since Torres left? Maybe a minute. Why? Because I've been recording since the moment you let him in the room. I held up the phone, the audio file clearly visible. I got his entire confession. Sarah's eyes widened. Nathan, that's brilliant. But is it even admissible? Depending on Illinois law. I don't care if it's admissible in court. I care that we have leverage. I was already dialing. Torres said the Real security doesn't know about this yet. So let's tell them. The call went to the main hotel line. I asked for security, got transferred, and asked specifically for Torres's supervisor. A woman's voice came on, identifying herself as Patricia Vargas, Director of Hotel Operations. Ms. Vargas, my name is Nathan Richardson. My wife is staying in room 1847, and I need to report that your head of security, David Torres, just confessed to orchestrating a corporate espionage scheme. Before you dismiss this, I need you to check something. Can you verify if Torres is currently logged into your security systems? A pause. Sir, I'm not sure I understand. Please, just check. Is he logged in right now? I heard keyboard clicks. No, actually. He signed out approximately 40 minutes ago. Which is unusual, but... And can you verify if he's accessed room 1847 security footage or keycard logs in the past 12 hours? More clicks. A longer pause. Sir, who are you? I'm telling you that Torres told us he's been manipulating your security systems, framing my wife for financial crimes to cover up his real theft of pharmaceutical research data. I have a recording. But more importantly, I think if you check your systems right now, you're going to find evidence of unauthorized access to guest information. Stay in your room, Vargas said, her voice suddenly all business. Don't touch anything. I'm coming to you. 15 minutes later, room 1847 was filled with people. Patricia Vargas, a tall woman with steel-grey hair and a no-nonsense demeanor. 2 actual security officers. And, surprisingly, 2 FBI agents who'd been in the building investigating an unrelated case and responded to Vargas's call. I played them the recording. Watched their faces as Torres's confession filled the room. Sarah pulled up the evidence of the database breach on her laptop, walking them through the timeline. We need to find Torres, one of the FBI agents said, already on his radio. And we need to preserve all security footage and system logs from the past 24 hours. But Torres was gone. His apartment was empty, his car missing from the hotel's employee garage. The man who'd called himself David Torres had vanished, along with Sarah's stolen research data. What they did find was a sophisticated operation. The FBI's cyber team discovered that Torres had been systematically compromising hotel security systems for months, using his position to gather intelligence on high-value targets, corporate executives, researchers, anyone with valuable information. Sarah wasn't his first victim, just his most recent. They also found the planted evidence on Sarah's laptop, exactly as Torres had promised. Financial malware designed to make her look like a cybercriminal. Without the recording, without our immediate report, Sarah would have been arrested within the hour. The real David Torres, it turned out, had been killed in a car accident 6 months earlier. The man who'd taken his identity was someone the FBI had been tracking for years. A ghost who specialized in infiltrating security positions at high-end hotels and convention centers. 3 weeks later, back home, Sarah and I sat in our kitchen while her laptop downloaded security patches and her company's IT department performed their 15th audit of her systems. The pharmaceutical data had been recovered from a dark web marketplace before any transactions completed, thanks to the FBI's quick action. Sarah's job was secure, her reputation intact. The company had even given her a commendation for helping expose the breach. I should have told you, Sarah said quietly, about the original plan with the fake James Hartley. I thought I was protecting you, but I just gave Torres the perfect opening. And I should have trusted you, I countered. When Torres called, my first instinct was to assume the worst. I didn't even question his story. We both made mistakes. She reached across the table, took my hand. But we fixed them together. My phone buzzed. A news alert: FBI arrests corporate espionage ringleader. The photo showed a man in handcuffs, not Torres, but one of his associates, caught trying to sell data in Miami. They're closing in, I said, showing Sarah the screen. Good. She closed her laptop with a decisive click. You know what? I'm done with conferences for a while. I think I'd rather be home, where the only person accessing my room is you. Even if I drink the last of the wine. She laughed, the first real, unguarded laugh I'd heard from her since this whole nightmare began. Even then. Outside, the sun was setting, painting our kitchen in warm orange light. Somewhere, Torres was still out there, probably already planning his next scheme. But right now, in this moment, Sarah was safe. We were safe. And sometimes, that's all you can ask for. The recording sat backed up in 3 different cloud services, insurance against any future claims. The FBI had assured us it was over,